Welcome to The Good Ride, a place where you'll need no tissues for your gear issues. I'm James Beastie, and today we're talking about the Borealis Artefact. A great board for those that like to go big, want a board with great pop, a good base, very competent edge hold, a more centered, not that directional all mountain ride, but with a stiffer, more free ride like flex, but don't want it to be overly technical and catchy. You have the Artefact. My only complaint with this board is sizing, and that's a common theme throughout Borealis's line. They just don't have a lot of sizing options, but if it fits you, this could be amazing. So I rode the Artefact with my Nitro Team BOA boots and my Union Force bindings. This winter absolutely sucked. I only got 2 days on it, and they were mostly spring-like conditions with hard snow in the morning, going to medium soft midday. I primarily compared it against the Origo 1, but I also tested it against the Flagship and Flagship Pro from Jones. You can see these comparisons on Patreon and on YouTube for paid members. And this is an honest, objective review for you, the consumer. I'm not here to promote the Artefact for Borealis. My loyalty is to you, and I can do that thanks to this wonderful community support, but also thanks to our sponsor, Blower Board Shop. They've been around forever, longer than most of you have been alive. They have a large online presence, great pricing, fast shipping, and great customer support. So we'd greatly appreciate it if you click through our links to Blower Board Shop and buy something. Now let's talk sizing. And sizing is very subjective and personal. So this is just my take. This 161 did not feel easy edge to edge for my size 9 boots, even with Nitro Team BOAs and Union Forces on. This did handle my weight, no problem, and it's a decent size for my height. I'd be very 158 curious. Now, when it comes to construction, weight, and durability, my only complaint is throughout the top sheet, it's prone to scuffing. I got this new out of the wrapper, and after riding it just a little bit, I'm seeing scuff marks throughout this matte top sheet. But the base, edges, sidewall, and the rest of the board are very well built, and I think it'll last a long time, even though it might not stay as pretty on the top sheet. Now, when it comes to this shape and the stance location of the Artefact, this has only 3.5 millimeters of taper, the 58 only 1.5, and the 64 wide 5 millimeters of taper. And while there's a lot of setback on side cut at 25 millimeters, there isn't a lot on board, and it best suits riders who like a more centered feel on board. This definitely sits in the all mountain world in terms of shape and setback, even though it has more of a free ride flex. When it comes to the camber profile, I like this directional camber. There's just a little bit of early rise before the tail, then going to an abrupt rise before the back inserts. That goes into a pretty decent amount of camber. Then this camber goes flat between the inserts to hold that camber up over the board, carrying on well past the front inserts to an abrupt down, and then some early rise before the nose. It makes for a very stable ride when it comes to one footing and flat basing. And while it does feel a good bit more technical because of this stiffer flex and more width underfoot for me, but it's still far less technical than many mostly camber and full camber boards out there. So if you get off your game, it's going to be easier to skid a turn than you would think. I still would say it's best for advanced to expert riders. When it comes to edge hold, I really like what Borealis is doing with all their boards, and the Artefact is no exception. There is a mellow disruption through the side cut that's very hard to pick up, but this grips really well, and on hard days, I really didn't expect this board to be able to commit an edge, but it did, and it did it very well. It's still not a hard to icy snow specialist, but it's very competent for those who ride in all conditions, want a board that's going to grip well in all of them, but not grab in soft snow. Let's talk Artefact flex here. It's medium stiff for sure. Down in the tail, there's a little give right here, and it does allow for an easier butter than you would think for this kind of flex. Then in the nose, it's not that much softer, maybe a touch softer. Between the feet is pretty stiff too, and overall this just has a very stiff, very aggressive flex that definitely takes some work on an ollie, but if you give it enough, it gives back even more, and It's a very dynamic board for those who really like to push it, but not ideal for those slower speed, ollie, play around kind of riders. When it comes to how the Artefact rides in uneven snow, I was really impressed in that hard, micro bumpy snow. Usually boards like this with a stiffer flex sometimes can feel hollow and pick up a lot of chatter. This didn't, and I think that's thanks to the liquid sidewall edges that quiet down the edge and absorb a lot of chatter much better than other boards do. And when it comes to soft, thick, tracked up, uneven snow, I didn't get a lot of that, but I can tell this board is just going to handle it like a champ. This has that stiff, free ride, chunder busting flex. When it comes to switch riding, it feels much more twin-like than you would think, and it's an easy board to throw around switch and ride both directions. And if you love to get air, this is an excellent board for that, especially those who like medium to big kickers in the park or just launching it off huge natural features. This is your board. It's not the most ideal for those little side hits. When it comes to pipe, if I was on the 58, I would probably like it but not love it for pipe riding because it would climb the walls better, be easier to turn and control there. And this isn't a great jib board. So when it comes to turning, this 61 Artefact was medium slow for me. It just didn't work well edge to edge, but I'm a size 9 boot and I don't have the appropriate leverage. If I was on a 58 or I was a 10 or 10 and a half, this turn initiation would be medium fast, and I think it would work well in tight, steep spots or tight tree lines. The one thing though is even if you're set all the way back on the mini disc compatible Setback inserts, you're gonna have a lot of tail behind you. So if you're going through tracked up snow in a tree line, you might feel a little tail catch here and there behind you, but overall it's not bad for this kind of board. Now, when you actually set the edge and commit to a turn, this camber profile along with this stiffer flex personality really comes alive as you pick up a little bit of speed and then it springs out of the turn so well. It's not a slower speed turner, but it's not terrible either. It doesn't fight you at slow speed turns like some boards can, but it definitely comes alive at higher speed, more aggressive carves. You can weight your turns any way you please with this. Front foot, center, or back foot weighted turns all perform equally well, and I love the spring out of the turn on this board. This 8-meter side cut for the 161 is balanced, but more on the straight line friendly side of balance. So across the groomer to circle carves aren't the best, but are very doable. Where this really shines is those medium radius turns to even borderline down the line radius turns, where you're really trying to pick up some speed before you engage into a harder carve. That's where this just lights up. And then if you want to get into those longer, drawn out, narrow turns, this responds really well. If you're somebody who loves to straight line, this is very capable, and the side cut is never gonna fight you. Even though it looks like there's a pretty aggressive entry here, they're not really on the camber area, so this more abrupt entry only really comes into play in powder, but even then it should just go straight fine because it's powder. The base glide and wax retention is very good with all Borealis boards, and this is no exception. And I can't feel any of the die cut in here, so very impressed with this basis construction. I normally don't like die cut, but I have no issues with this one. Now, when it comes to powder float, I was skunked. This season sucked, and the one day we had good powder, I had only time for the Borealis Leviathan, which is a really exceptional powder to snow surf kind of ride. And by the time I got off that, there was no powder left. But just looking at the shape with a longer nose that has 3.5 millimeters more width, more surface area, and then going to a slightly narrower tail with less surface area and less width at the very end of the tail, then factoring in this rocker along with some extra mini disc compatible Setback inserts, I think the Artefact is going to be very good, but it's not very Setback on board, so you're not riding really Setback like many true freeride boards that are usually 3.5 inches back or more. You ride this more centered. It's not going to be great for medium to low angle powder. There's going to be more rear leg burn, but if you're in steeper terrain and you want to launch off shit and get big air. You're gonna have a lot of landing gear, even set all the way back, and it's gonna really light up if you're going for steep pitches. That's where this board shines. And overall, this Artefact, even though it didn't fit my size 9 boots very well in this 161, that's more of a mid-wide, I can see this board's potential. I'd love to try it in a 58 and see if that works for me. But as it stands now, this is a very recommendable, aggressive all-mountain board. And the only thing I wish is there was more sizing. There you have it.
What's up, guys? Joe Fossity here with the 2027 Borealis Artefact Snowboard. Unfortunately, we only had the 161 to test, so I'll be giving you a small guy's take on this big board, but let me tell you, I absolutely love this thing anyway. I'm about 5'6" tall, weigh 125 pounds, and wear a size 7.5 Deluxe Edge Pro boot. The boot is the stiffest boot in Deluxe's line and one of the stiffest boots available, which helps me compensate for my smaller foot size when riding big boards like this one. In the few days I had with this board, I was able to get it in various conditions with various binding setups. I rode this board with Union Force bindings and with my Rome cleavers, now referred to as the Rome Katana Full Wrap. With those bindings, I take that ankle strap and I rotate it all the way up for maximum response, again, allowing me to get on edge on these big boards. While I would personally size down to the 158, I could tell this board suits my riding style perfectly. I absolutely love the shape of this thing. I love the diamond tips on the nose and the tail. This with that large bow of camber, the stiff flex, the slight taper, a little bit of setback, all those things make it really fun to carve. Not only did those things help with the carve, but it really had a lot of pop on the nollie. It's not too much that it's going to be difficult ride and switch either. This is right up there with my favorite board of the season and is honestly something I'm considering in the size down. I will absolutely be recommending this for anybody looking for that slightly more aggressive one board quiver